In the top stories, the full social partnership meets for the first time in a year. Customs workers return to full duties, and Sada Williams and Tristan Evelyn make it to the finals of the Pan Am Games. Welcome to Nation News for Friday, July 31st, 2015. I'm Natasha Beckles. A call has been made for the social partnership to take stock and get back to basics. It comes from head of C2SAB, Cedric Murrell, who spoke at the start of the first full meeting of the social partnership in exactly 1 year. Mr. Murrell said government, trade unions and the private sector should be willing to compromise in the best interests of the country. He also pointed out that Barbadians feel there is not enough trust and respect within the system. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Frondell Stewart admitted that the partnership has had its challenges and called for a civilized exchange of views during the meeting. Employees of the Customs and Excise Department have returned to normal duties following weeks of industrial action. The decision came on Thursday night after more than 3 hours of talks between Finance Minister Chris Sinclair, the Barbados Workers Union and the National Union of Public Workers. It was also agreed that government would rescind the controversial option forms that were issued to employees for their transition to the Barbados Revenue Authority. You may recall this was what led to the impasse. Minister Chris Sinclair said the parties will restart negotiations next Wednesday.
There's a lot of water that has crossed under the bridge. It has never been the intention of government to disaffect or cause any disadvantage to workers. In fact, our express position has been in all these transition exercises to ensure as much as is humanly possible that we ensure that the rights of the workers are maintained and restored, even as they opt to transition, and for those who may opt not to transition, that they also continue to be dealt with as they ought to be, both on the law and in relation to what we would consider to be good practice. And so if anything would have transpired to have given the impression or to have created the state of mind among the workers that such was not the case, I want to say publicly that that was not the intention of the government, for sure.
Police are urging members of the public to leave their weapons at home when they attend crop over events this weekend. The call comes from Acting Assistant Commissioner Euclid Thompson, who spoke during a media briefing on Thursday.
Every year, the Queen Davis Hospital is inundated with patients injured at crop over, especially at 4-day morning jam and Grand Kaduma. If there are no weapons, it's highly likely that injuries will not be, and if there are, they'll be at a minimum. Barbadians and visitors must be able to enjoy the festival without bringing harm to each other.
Meantime, Acting Assistant Superintendent Bruce Rowe says the police will be keeping a close eye on Kadooment bands on Monday, especially the popular Revelers Band.
The Royal Barbados Police Force may go to the extra mile to police that band, because if we don't police that band, we can have problems with it. And we assure you that we will police it to the same strength that we've been policing it all through the years. Incidences along the road, I want to remind you that we are dealing with what we classify as open events. Any road event is an open event, and it is very difficult for me to identify or check persons. We've alerted our officers to have their eyes open. If they see something that they're suspicious about, we will act on it swiftly to prevent any major incidences along the 4-day morning route and the Grand Kaduma route. And in this venture, we have the assistance of the Barbados Defense Force.
The Kensington Oval stage is set for this year's Pickety Crop competition. The Calypsonians spent some time on Thursday night going through their paces in preparation for the big night. 9 competitors will be trying to stop Ian Webster from becoming the second person to complete a Pickety Crop hat trick on Saturday. Final preparations are also being put in place for the popular Bridgetown Market. Stall owners were busy on Thursday making sure everything was ready for the thousands of patrons expected to converge on the Spring Garden Highway. Some of the country's top entertainers took time out on Thursday to pay their final respects to Selma Blendman, the wife of Calypsonian Griner, real name MacDonald Blendman. Delivering the eulogy, Calypsonian Claremont Pompey Pilgrim said Miss Blendman was a respectful woman who never allowed cancer to color her perspective on life. Mrs. Blendman passed away on July 22nd at age 63. In sport, two Barbadian athletes have reached the finals of their events at the Pan American Junior Athletics Championships in Edmonton, Canada. Sada Williams has advanced to the final of the women's 400 meters, while Tristan and Evelyn will compete for a medal in the women's 100 meters. The news was not so good for Mario Burke, who pulled up in his heat in the men's 100 meters. Barbados' medal tally at the Special Olympics World Games has increased to 8. These include 4 golds, 2 silvers, and 2 bronze. And finally, a Texas businessman used an app to find his iPhone in a rural pasture after it fell more than 9,000 feet during a flight from Houston. And Ben Wilson says his cell phone still works. He reported that he and a pilot were traveling home when a pressure change caused the passenger door to open slightly. Mr. Wilson didn't realize his cell phone fell out until after landing, but luckily he was able to find it under a tree. And that's Nation News for Friday. For more, log on to nationnews.com as well as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Remember to pick up your papers over the weekend or subscribe to our e-paper. And look out for the Weekend Buzz a little later. Thank you so much for joining us.